Welcome back. I'm Dan O'Donnell, Assistant County Administrator, and I'm here today with Brent Robertson, who is the Director of the Department of Management and Budget for Roanoke County, and we're here to talk a little bit about the county budget process that we are right in the middle of at this point. Welcome, Brent.
Thank you.
Could you tell us about the budget process? When does it begin? Where are we in the process? And when does it finish?
I'd be happy to. The budget process is really kind of a continuous process we have here at the county. There's always development, analysis, implementation, or evaluation going on. However, for the development of the fiscal 13 budget, we're kind of what I would call right in the middle of the process right now. It began probably around October or so when we started developing the capital improvement program that would be submitted to the board during the winter. Currently, departments are developing their expenditure requests for the fiscal 13 budget. We will go through that with the county administration and work sessions with the Board of Supervisors, with the county administrator bringing a proposed budget to the Board of Supervisors probably the first meeting in April.
Mm-hmm. And the fiscal year begins July 1st, so we have basically between now and April to have it finished, and then it goes into effect July 1st.
Correct, and there'll be some administrative procedural issues where the board will do a final official adoption of the budget, which right now is tentatively scheduled for the last meeting in May.
Okay, great. As you know, the governor released his budget back in December to the state legislature. How does the state budget impact the county budget? Are there big implications for our budget based on what the state's doing?
Yes, absolutely. If you look at the state allocation to Roanoke County for budget purposes, it doesn't appear to be that much. It's only about 6% of our overall budget, which equates to just a little under $10 million. However, if you look at the areas that funds, it's very significant. Some of the areas that are funded with state allocations include the Department of Social Services, the constitutional officers, which is the Commonwealth Attorney, the Sheriff, the Treasurer, Clerk of the Court, Commissioner of Revenue, as well as law enforcement. So there's some very important areas that if funding is changed or decreased, it could be very significant for us.
Mm-hmm. Now, in addition to the state budget implications, our local and national economy, as we all know, hasn't fared as well as we'd like in the past. Can you tell us about some of the challenges that the economy has, especially on the revenue side of the budget?
I'll be happy to. I think, we're in 4 years of kind of economic decline, or at least stagnation, and we've been more fortunate than other localities here in Roanoke County with a good, diverse economic base in the Roanoke Valley. Our largest revenue category is property taxes, both personal and real estate property taxes, and they've been rather stagnant, and this year actually declined for real estate values this year. So we're going to be looking at a kind of a negative revenue growth in those areas. So that's very concerning to us, and I think we'll have some pretty significant implications for this year's budget development. Some of those areas that are more what I call directly economically driven, meals tax, sales tax, hotel motel tax, business license taxes, we're seeing a little better movement in those compared to the last 3 years or so. And I think that reflects some of the national numbers and indicators we're seeing. So, but that once again is a very small part of our budget compared to the property taxes. So there's areas that we have a little optimism in, there are areas that we're very concerned, and then the final area that I would consider would be our intergovernmental revenues, which I think is still a concern to us because the state and federal levels are dealing with fairly significant budget deficits as well.
So whereas 4 or 5 years ago we were seeing significant increases in revenue, I guess at this point we're not going to see that in the near future.
That's correct. I believe our preliminary projections show an overall growth of about a minus 0.5% this year.
So actually a little bit of a decrease in the money we have to work with.
Correct, and we do foresee that in the next few years in the near term.
And given these revenue restrictions from the economy and just the way the budget is working at this point, what has the Board of Supervisors directed us to do in terms of the budget? What are your directives? at this point?
The directives from the Board of Supervisors for this budget development season are similar to what they've been the last 3 years during this economic downturn, and that has been to, first and foremost, no tax increases for property taxes,
Right.
No layoffs of existing staff, and no reductions in core services that the citizens would see or feel the impact of. And that's becoming more and more difficult. Once again, that's the same directives the board has given us the last 3 years, but we've been faced with stagnant or declining revenues, budget requests that have been unable to be funded, as well as just the long-term continuation of this economic kind of stagnation that we're dealing with, while service demands in some areas have increased. And those are areas such as police, fire and rescue, social services, are all areas that during this economic downturn we've seen increases in service demands.
And one of the things that we're having to wrestle with is the state retirement system.
Yes.
There's an increase in expenditures. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, due to some future liabilities in the state retirement system, all localities in Virginia, both governments and school systems, will be faced with pretty significant increases in retirement costs. That's for Roanoke County. Our preliminary estimates are figuring about $2.5 million we're going to be looking at in this next fiscal year. Related to that, the Board of Supervisors and the County Administrator has indicated that salary increases for employees are a priority of theirs, and we've attempted to work in, at least from a preliminary standpoint, some type of increase for employees for salaries next year as well.
Of course, that's not promised, but seeing it's been approximately 3.5 years since salary increases for any county employees, I understand why they would make that a priority, because we have great people that work for Roanoke County, and as the demands go up, they're working harder and harder to keep those services delivered. So.
Oh, absolutely. And in some areas, staffing has been reduced over this three-year period, while service delivery has been maintained at the same level. So that you're correct. That is a high priority of the board and the county administrator.
Well, it's going to be a challenging budget, and we appreciate all you and your department does to wrestle through all those tough issues. I'm sure we'll figure it all out eventually, but it's going to be a tough road to hoe.
I believe it is,
So,
yes.
thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.